بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين.
Interpretation of the Holy Quran.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. With the help of Allah, we have started to have a concise interpretation of Quran. We reached to chapter Baqara, the longest chapter of Quran, which is revealed in Medina. It has 286 verses. Please listen to verse 181 and 182.
فمن بدله بعدما سمعه فإنما إثمه على الذين يبدلونه إن الله سميع عليم فمن خاف من موص جنفا أو إثما فأصلح بينهم فلا إثم عليه إن الله غفور رحيم.
Whoever then alters it after he has heard it, the sin of it then is only upon those who alter it. Surely Allah is hearing, knowing. فمن خاف من موص جنفا أو إثما فأصلح بينهم فلا إثم عليه إن الله غفور رحيم. But he who fears an inclination to a wrong course or an act of disobedience on the part of the testator and effects an agreement between the parties, there is no blame on him. Surely Allah is forgiving, merciful. In previous verse, we talked about the wasiyah. We said sometimes a person has a will before his death. Sometimes the will is obligated, sometimes is recommended. But there is no difference. When there is a will, Allah says in this verse, whoever have information about a will has no right to change it in any price. And it is considered as a big sin when a person knows the will and he will change it. Sometimes a person had a will that the members of the family or friends to spend money in a charity, in a school, in a hospital, to send somebody as my representative to pilgrimage, to pray, for example, for me, to make a fast for me, or to give some members of the family a little more money, or to a friend. There is no way that members of the family will change it in any price. It is obligated to follow it. Allah says, فَمَنْ بَدَّلَهُ بَعْدَمَا سَمَعَهُ. Whoever change and alter this will after hearing, فَإِنَّمَا إِسْمُهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ يُبَدِّلُونَهُ. Its sin, it is considered as a sin, and its sin is to whoever has changed it. Of course, those who didn't change it, they are not going to commit sin. And they cannot do anything. Or a person, for example, testator, is going to make a reward for whatever he had. If he had a good will and he advised the members of the family, for example, to spend money for me as a charity or to feed people, he is going to make a reward. There is no sin for him. But those who have changed it, definitely they have committed sin. Inna Allah Sami'un Alim. Surely Allah is knowing and Allah is hearing. Allah hears who has changed. Allah will see it and Allah has knowledge to whoever has changed it. There is a question. Sometimes a father, a mother passed away and he had a will to spend this money for a hospital, this hospital. Is it possible that we will change it to a school? Spend the money to a school that they are really in need? No, there is no way. Although even the school is in need, but only you should give to the hospital. If he has advised and he had a will that give this amount of money to this hospital, a special one, and he mentioned the name, can we change it to another hospital? No. Exactly the one that he had a will. So we will see that we cannot change the will for somebody in any price. If he said give the money to poor people, we cannot give the food instead of that. If he said food, we cannot give the money of food, because when you give the money, you did not feed it. The will, we should fulfill it as is, and there is no way that any person will change it. There is a narration in Tafsir Nur al-Saqalain, volume 1, page 159. The narration says there is no way to change the will. Even if some Jew or Christians will take benefit out of this will, but still it is not your right and it is not my right to change it. This money and this will belong to somebody else, and he was allowed by Allah to have a will, and he had a will. Only we should fulfill his will, and there is no way to change it. Then Allah says, فَمَنْ خَافَ مِنْ مُوصٍ جَنَفًا أَوْ إِثْمًا فَأَصْلَحَ بَيْنَهُمْ. Yes, there is an exception. Exception is if a guardian wants to fulfill the will and he will see that there are some issues in the will that if he fulfills, definitely is going to make a problem in the family or society, or he fears. Janaf means intendency. It means inclination. If he see that in this will there is a tendency to some members of the family or to some friends, and it is going to affect the family, it is going to bring the problem in the family, or he knows that the father has committed sin. For example, he has made a will for half of his property, which he had no permission to do that. We said a person, a testator, only has a permission to have a will regarding to 1/3 of his money and property, not more than that. If he had a will regarding to half of his money or property to give to friends or institution or hospital, of course the guardian cannot fulfill it. He should change it. Allah says, فَمَنْ خَافَ مِنْ مُوصٍ, any person who fear from testator, جَنَفًا, it means tendency, or isman, or he has committed sin, فَأَصْلَحَ بَيْنَهُمْ. He tries to make an agreement between the members of the family to bring peace amongst them. فَلَا إِسْمَ عَلَيْهِ. In such a situation, when he changes the will in these circumstances, there is no sin for such a person, because he had a good intention and he doesn't want to bring the problems in the family. إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. And definitely Allah is the one who forgives, and Allah has a mercy. Allah is a merciful regarding to all people. So we have understood that it is forbidden to change and alter the will unless the testator has committed sin in his will. He had a will regarding to spend money in a haram way, or he had a will regarding to some percentage that he had no right about it, or the will is going to bring the problems in the family. In this case, the guardian can change and alter the will. Inna Allah ghafurur rahim. There are a few messages that we can get from this verse. One, we have understood that nobody has right to change the will. Anything he had a will, we have to fulfill it as he said. Children cannot say that, no, my father or my mother made a mistake. He had a will for 1 year pray, 2 years pray, to give the money to somebody to go to pilgrimage. And children will say, no, we know he had gone to Hajj, to pilgrimage, and there was no need to send somebody for pilgrimage. This is not the right. For praise the same. Or to give some money to such a person. No. We know this person is not good and we should not give the money. This is not your right. This is not my right. It was the right of a person who had passed away, and we cannot change the wasiyah in any price. فَمَنْ بَدَّلَهُ بَعْدَمَا سَمِعَهُ فَإِنَّمَا إِسْمُهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ يُبَدِّلُونَهُ. Whoever heard the will, he has no permission to alter it, to change it, and whoever change it is going to commit sin, and the sin is for such a person. Another message, Allah says, فَمَنْ بَدَّلَهُ بَعْدَ مَا سَمَعَهُ. It means whoever changes it after knowledge. It means if a person will change by mistake, that's okay. Mistake is forgiven. But بَعْدَ مَا سَمِعَهُ, it means after he heard the truth, he knows the wasiyah, the will, still he has changed it. So before having knowledge or by mistake, that's okay. But if a person intentionally will change it, is going to commit sin. We understand that all the time. We commit sin when we have knowledge. But those who make a mistake, Allah is not going to punish those people who make a mistake. When a person is fast and 10 o'clock in the morning when he is fast in holy months of Ramadan, by mistake, he will start to have a food. After half an hour, when he finished everything, he remember that he was fast. His fast is wrong or not? No. What should he do? Nothing. Only to continue his fast is okay. Why? Because he had made a mistake. And Allah forgives those who make a mistake. Another message, when Allah says at the end of this verse, إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ, surely Allah is hearing, Allah is knowing. Allah wants to say that when you want to change the will of somebody, you must understand that Allah is watching you. Allah has knowledge. There is no way that you change it and you claim that you had no knowledge. There is no way that you change it and Allah will not aware of that. Allah will not be aware of that. Definitely Allah knows. Since Allah knows, Allah is watching you, then you must not do such things. When we remember that Allah is watching us, we protect ourselves a little more. We try to have piety a little more. This is the reason that in many verses Allah says Allah is hearing, Allah is knowing. Then in next verse when Allah says فَمَنْ خَافَ مِنْ مُوسًى جَنَفًا أَوْ إِثْمًا, Allah is talking about some circumstances that a guardian can change the will. He said, it is in the time that a person is feared. He fears from the problem between the members of the family. Or testator has committed sin. He had a will for somebody that he had no permission to do, like to have a will more than 1/3. Or he had a will to the members of the family that spend this money for making a place for gambling. This is wrong. In these circumstances, such a person, it means guardian, can change it. So we will see that although it is very important to follow the will, but in the time of committing sin, Allah says, no, it's not important. Ignore the will and do something which is right. So we have understood that to change the will, to bring the peace in the family, to bring the love in the family, to protect the problems in the society, yes, we have permission to change it, and the guardian, with the consultation with Hakim al-Shari, Islamic leader, he can change it and do something which is good for the members of the family. We ask Allah to help us to have a good will, and to have a good will for ourselves, for our children, our members of the family, our friends, our society. Thank you very much for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.